monumental miscellanea, and funerary paraphernalia. It's Archaeodeath.
When I started this YouTube channel only a few months back, the opening impetus to do so was organising on the 4th of April a special Offa Communities and Offers Dyke digital conference to replace the real world one that was going to happen but couldn't because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So a few months later, through the lockdown and out the other side, I haven't been able to go much back into the field and to actually try and replicate that activity again, because in the afternoon, instead of an actual guided walk, I did a digital walk where I went around in the various locations around Trevonnan. I showed you aspects of Offa's Dyke, but I want to, in this short video, try that experiment again, but with a different monument. Watts Dyke, the late 8th or early 9th century Mercian frontier work that runs in the northern section of Offa's Dyke parallel to it and continues on towards the Dee estuary, where it hits the Dee estuary in the Greenfield Valley at Basingwork. So we have a monument that is contemporary in broad terms with Offa's Dyke, but on current evidence might actually be later than it, perhaps the work of King Cynwulf in the early 9th century, but that I'll discuss in the video. The point I wanted to make, though, is that join me for another little tragical history tour, but this time for Watts Dyke rather than Offa's Dyke.
Hello Archaeo Deathlings, here we are to the north of Old Oswestry Hillfort, and this is an important location to get a sense of the line of the late 8th, early 9th century linear earthwork built by the Mercian kings called Watts Dyke, probably from a mythical figure, Gaddo or Wade, as a mythological name, sort of giving a flavour to suggesting this was a monument constructed by a sort of giant or a heroic figure in Anglo-Saxon mythology. Now the hill fort is on the hill behind me, and you can see this on this side, on this western side, there are 5 lines of defences built from about the 8th century BC, and on this eastern side there are 4 lines of defences, and that hill fort was therefore already 1,500 years old when in the 8th or early 9th centuries it was reoccupied, reused as part of the line of Watts Dyke, and the field boundary here is the line of Watts Dyke. So the hedge is built on the top of a much denuded bank that originally would have been about 2 to 3 metres high and is now spread about 6-7 metres and is only about a metre high, and on the footpath running down and taking a kink at 2 points before heading up to the hill fort's outer defences is the line of the ditch. So that the modern boundary preserves a much spread and denuded 8th and early 9th century linear earthwork. So this is a really good point to get a sense of how Watts Dyke reoccupies along its route a number of earlier pre-existing strategic features. Offa's Dyke is to the west here, uphill, and if it's correct that this was an earlier monument and then Watts Dyke was added to it, then Offa's Dyke may have been already out of use or well used by the time Watts Dyke is being added to this frontier zone. This might actually be one of a series of pre-existing fortifications reused by Watts Dyke in the landscape, as it runs into at least 2 hill forts at Caer Allen and here at Old Oswestry, and possibly there's a putative other example at Erddig. The Motte and Bailey at Erddig may actually be over an earlier Iron Age promontory fort. So we have Watts Dyke here running through a more lowland landscape on the very edge of the Cheshire and Shropshire plains, and controlling and connecting up a series of strategic nodes, river crossings and hill forts and other hilltop sites. This is a really interesting location. You're looking north along the line of Watts Dyke, and we're just standing behind it here. The cow here, my wonderful glamorous assistant, is standing just on the Mercian side, the eastern side of the line of, thank you, the line of Watts Dyke. So this hedge follows the line of Watts Dyke, but look at how Watts Dyke behaves in relation to this local knoll. So Watts Dyke has run to just go west of and therefore incorporate into its line this local eminence. And so you get a sense of how the monument is, even in this relatively lowland landscape, it's connecting up strategic points where you can view the landscape to the west. View the landscape to the west, Cal. A good bit where you've got two calves on the Welsh side and the mummy on the Mercian side of Wat's Dyke. Now look here, we're here to see Wat's Dyke, this 8th early 9th century linear earthwork that's in that field boundary, and you and you and you and you and you, and I can see you at the back, are getting in my way. Okay? Do you want to learn about early medieval archaeology or not? That's the question. Reflect on that and come back to me with a better attitude. Okay, here we are at another strategic location. This is looking southwards from Old Oswestry Hillfort, and the bank in front of you in these paddocks is the line of Wat's Dyke, the Mercian linear earthwork heading southwards out of the monument. If we pan along here, we get a sense of how it incorporates the Hillfort defences, either reutilising the lowest of the banks and ditches, or perhaps on the right above this second line of defences, and therefore wrapping around the Hillfort on its western side. So this is a very strategic way in which Wat's Dyke operates, incorporating and reusing this Iron Age Hillfort. So we've jumped up to the second line of ramparts here of Old Oswestry Hillfort on the southern side. So the Hillfort ramparts 3 and 4 are above us. We're on the top of the bank of the second line of ramparts, and the first rampart is down below us to the south. So here on the signboard you have a nice signboard with an aerial photograph, a map showing the relationship of Wat's Dyke and Offa's Dyke, an excavation photograph from the 1998 I think it was of Mycocloid in Oswestry, where you can see the bank and ditch, and a plan showing you where we are. So this gives you good information about Wat's Dyke, but the problem is it's still working on this the Maleham and Hayes redating of the monument to the early 9th century. So it suggests here that it may have been built by King Offa in the 8th century. On the website, English Heritage have still until very recently included information suggesting it's a 5th century monument. So there's a problem here of this being a little bit out of date. It doesn't include that early 9th century narrative, which is an issue. But also the other issue is you can't actually see Wat's Dyke from this signboard. And indeed I have to go to the edge of the bank and lift my tripod over the vegetation that's grown in the last 15-20 years since they put the signboard there, for you to be able to see the line of Wat's Dyke down in the paddocks there, heading southwards out of Old Oswestry Hillfort. So it's a bit of a challenge of interpretation. Of the signboards are out of date, and also you can't see Wat's Dyke from the location where the signboard is. Here we are on the northern side of Old Oswestry Hillfort, and you can see the huge earthen bank and ditches dating to the late Bronze Age and early Iron Age. And as we spin round, you can see there in the distance, following the hedge line, the line of Wat's Dyke, doing this dog leg, reorientating itself to approach the Hillfort ramparts at a right angle, and then stretching northwards there, heading towards the confluence of the Ceiriog and the River Dee, a strategic location where the dyke is blocking access up into the Welsh uplands, or down from the Welsh uplands onto the Cheshire and Shropshire plains. So reutilising the line of Old Oswestry Hillfort, as I said, this monument is incorporating a 1,000+ year older monument into its line.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to Howard Williams on YouTube. In addition, consider following the Archaeodeath WordPress blog at howardwilliamsblog.wordpress.com.